Now the shapes you'll need to know for your exam are a rectangle. A rectangle has two lengths that we're interested in, the length and the width. And the area of a rectangle is given by the calculation length times width. A triangle has three sides, and the sides we're interested in are the base and, most importantly, the height, but specifically the perpendicular height. In other words, the height that meets the base at a right angle. The area is then given by half times the base times the perpendicular height. A parallelogram, essentially, is a slanted rectangle. And once again, we look at the base and the perpendicular height and multiply the two together to get the area. The trapezium looks like this. And this one's slightly more complicated to work out. We have two parallel sides, sides that don't touch. One is shorter than the other. The shorter one is called A, and the longer one, B. Once again, we need to use this perpendicular height, which we call H. Now the area of a trapezium is given by the formula half times A plus B times H. Essentially, that means add the two parallel sides, multiply by the height, and half it. Okay, so now we've seen the different shapes and the definitions of area and perimeter, let's work out some questions. Now they give us the base as being 7 centimetres, and they've also given us the perpendicular height of 4 centimetres. Remember, it's that perpendicular height that we need before we can work out the area. And as we said on the slide, the area of the triangle is a half times the base, which is 7, times the height, which is 4. Now when it comes to working this out, I find it's always easier to multiply our numbers together and then half what we get. 7 times 4 is 28. So essentially what we're working out now is half of 28. Remember, that's all that means. Half times 28 just means a half of 28. So that gives us 14. And be very careful with the units here, because it's no longer just centimetres, because it's an area. It would be centimetres squared. Okay, so the area of a rectangle now. Now the area of the rectangle is one of the easiest area calculations there is, because all it is simply length multiplied by width. So in this case, where the length is 8 centimetres and the width is 5, our area is quite simply going to be 8 times 5, which is 40, don't forget the units, centimetres squared. Right, so the trickiest calculation you're going to have to do for area will be the area of the trapezium. But if you remember to break it down and think of it as steps rather than just that formula, it becomes a lot easier. So if we look at this example here, we've got a trapezium with the shorter parallel side being 5.5 centimetres, the longer one being 7.5, and the perpendicular height being 4 centimetres. Now remember, the area formula is a half times A plus B times H. Now that can be quite complicated to work with if you're not really familiar with it. So what we're going to do is break it down into the 3 steps. And the first step is this bit here, this A plus B. And all that means is to add the shorter and longer parallel sides together. So if we add 5.5 and 7.5, that gives us, once we carry the 1 over there, an answer of 13. Now what we do is multiply that by the height, that next bit there. Now 13 times 4, 4 times 3 is 12, carry 1. 4 times 1 is 4, plus the 1 is 5. And then the final part we do is to half our answer. So a half of 52 is 26 centimetres squared. So think of it as being 3 steps. The first step, adding the 2 parallel sides together. The second step being multiplying by the height, and then the third step finding half of that answer.